I wanted to make a video about tips for card collecting, and for this video specifically I wanted to talk about buying and selling of cards and the process it goes with. And probably the biggest avenue for buying and selling cards within Pokemon, sports cards, Yu-Gi-Oh, any trading cards is really going to be eBay. There is also like the Instagram sort of private market. I'll get into that later. But typically eBay is your biggest source for buying and selling of trading cards. And what I wanted to get in with about eBay is that sellers will often always complain about the fees that are with eBay, selling on eBay. But the thing that sellers don't understand, or seem to not understand at all, is the fact that collectors like myself wouldn't be buying these cards from them if they weren't selling them off of eBay, because eBay is that third party that basically ensures that myself as a buyer or a seller is protected, and that I can't really get scammed. Is basically the what eBay does. It prevents scamming, or tries to at the best of its abilities. And so what I'm talking about this is that Instagram buying and selling and trading of collectible cards is a big thing, but scams do often happen on those. I don't know how often. I know I've seen people get scammed for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands, sometimes for their entire collection. Getting scammed by basically trading away cards for fake cards or buying fake cards. Things like that can happen when you're using these private markets, or just Instagram messaging and basically just sending your card out there and hoping that you don't get scammed almost, or sending your money out hoping that you don't get scammed. With eBay, it takes that worry away, because if a scam does happen, eBay will come in and fix it. So that's why I personally don't use the the Instagram community. I pretty much just stay on eBay, and what eBay does is makes everyone trustworthy, all the sellers, all the buyers, and if those people aren't trustworthy or do something that's untrustworthy or scam you, eBay will come in and fix it. And that's what those eBay fees are for. And so I wanted to get in with a couple of cards that I bought that were not as described and that I will be returning, but just kind of go over them. And so here's a first edition Buster Blader, and you look at the front of the card, it looks really nice. The corners are really nice. Surface hollow foil hasn't got any scratches. You turn it over to the back. Back looks pretty good. Corners are good. Edges are crisp. And then when you really get into look, you can see at the top right there, there's actually a bend to the card at the top. Something that, when you just take a photo of the card like this and like this, your typical front and back, even if you take some pictures of the corners or different pictures of the surface of the hollow foil, this bend at the top still isn't going to show. And that's something that a seller is responsible for showing. This is damage to a card. A bend to the card is basically the same as a crease. It's a damaged card, even though everything else looks perfect, and it pretty much everything else is, except for this little mark up here and this bend that you can see only when the light hits it just right. That's something that's a seller responsibility to show. So even though they took a picture of the front of the card, took a picture of the back, took pictures of the hollow foil, and said this card's in near mint condition and it looks near mint, and I bought it, and then I got it here and it's actually damaged, and the damage should have been shown by the seller. And actually on the back here too, I forgot to show this, but there's actually a bunch of scratches in the surface of the back of the card, so you can get it on the light. So that's something else that didn't really show up if you take a picture like this, but if you angle it, it does show up. And again, that's something that is the seller's responsibility to show and describe. Like right there, you can see all the scratches really good. And so this card was described as near mint, and it's not a near mint card by any means. And then I've got another card here to show that I bought that is also another damaged card that was listed as being near mint. And it is a first edition card from Gladiator's Assault, and one of the Elemental Hero cards, and a Ghost Rare, the cover card actually, but it's actually a misprint because it's got the Rainbow Dragon name And so I saw several pictures of this card, and if you look at it, the holofoil on this card actually looks pretty good. You don't see scratches or anything when you look at the surface like this, and then even if you, I mean, I got some pictures of it from different angles, and I didn't see scratches. And then you look at the back's got a little bit of wear I knew about, but still looked pretty good. But then you look right here, and there's another bend in this card too. And this one's a lot worse than the other card even. It's almost to the point where it's a crease. And then not only is there this huge bend in the card, but if you do look at the holofoil correctly, you can see a ton of scratches on it. I'm not sure if I can get it to hit the light right. Right there. You can see some of those scratches. And so again, that's the seller's responsibility to show that there is a bend in this card, that it is a damaged card, and just not take a couple of pictures of it and list it as near mint and try to sell it for more than what it's worth because it is a damaged card. And so then I'm actually going to show some of my returns that when I've messaged these people trying to return some of my damaged cards that I've bought, or some of the cards that I bought that were damaged that were listed as near mint. When you do returns on eBay, you shouldn't ever really be afraid to issue a return. You as a buyer have that right to ask for a return if you think an item does not match up to the description. So with these cards, I don't think that either of these cards are near mint by any means. I think they're played condition. I think they're damaged, and they are damaged. And so when you're trying to return items on eBay, oftentimes sellers will battle you for it. They will fight you on trying to return these cards because they do not want you to return the card. They want your money. They want what you paid for the card because you probably overpaid, thinking that you had a near mint card that you were buying and it was actually a damaged card. So they want to keep your money, obviously, and they will fight and bully you, or try to anyways, to try to keep your money and try to stick you with the damaged product. And so I'll show some of my messages back and forth during the return process with these people. And then the first return I'm going to show you is a real strong example of somebody that was really tried to bully me. I didn't obviously let it happen, but they tried to bully me hard on keeping the money that they got and sticking me with the card. And so the message that they returned to me after I asked for a return, saying that the card was damaged and didn't match the near mint description that they gave it. They said that the crease was visible in the picture, which it very faintly might have been, but it was not made obvious. And if the card is creased, then it shouldn't have been listed as near mint. It should have been shown and should have been listed as damaged or played in condition. He said that the card was within the description of near mint to moderately played, which is false because he only said the card was in near mint condition. And then describing something or a card as in near mint to moderately played condition is absolutely terrible. That's like saying a phone is brand new to broken. How it can't be can't be both. It's one or the other. It's in you can say maybe mint to near mint, where it's a difference of opinion on if it's like a mint card or a near mint card. Both of those are really close to each other, but saying a card is in near mint to played condition is basically saying it's in near mint great condition to being damaged. It's either damaged or it's not. And then he went on to say that if the back of the card was an issue, that I could have asked for more photos of the back of the card. When I bought the card from the person, they didn't post pictures of the back of the card, and there's a crease in the corner of that card, and it was more obvious from the back of the card, so I took pictures of the back of the card showing that, hey, this card's creased. Again, that's something that, yes, he's actually right that I could have asked for photos of the back of the card, but just because I showed that the damage was on the back of the card doesn't mean that that was the issue. It was the issue that the card was damaged in the first place, not that it was visible on the back of the card. And then he went on to say that it took 3 weeks for me to ask for the return, which is bogus anyway because eBay allows you 30 days to ask for a return of an item. I did it in 3 weeks, so that's 21 days. So I could have waited a whole another week even, and to ask for the return, and I would have been in the fine, clear, within that return limit that eBay allows. So that's him like really reaching for trying to find something to like discredit my return on. And then lastly, what really made me laugh, uh, he said that the card was tampered with because I removed the card from its sleeve and the top loader to take the pictures of the card, which is just absolutely laughable. Saying that you're basically tampering with or damaging a card by taking it out of a sleeve and a top loader. That's just laughable. So that at that point it was very obvious that he was really reaching on things to try to discredit my return. And then I responded to him, and I basically, took everything he said and just turned it right around. I knew as the buyer of this card that he was in the wrong out from the beginning because the card was damaged. He didn't say it was damaged. He didn't show it was damaged, and he had nothing on me. So I returned it around, and then after that, he realized that I knew what I was doing and just accepted the return. And then I have another return that I did for actually this Rainbow Neo or Rainbow Dragon error card, where the seller actually admitted that he knew that the card had a bend to it and that there were scratches on the card, but he didn't think that it was a big deal. He thought that scratches on Ghostware cards are common, which yes they are. Ghostware is obviously very prone to getting scratched, these hollow foil surfaces. But the reason why I bought the card was because I didn't think there was any scratches, because the pictures that he took didn't show any scratches on the card, and he listed the card as near mint. And I definitely didn't think that there was a bend in the card because he said it was near mint. And so he's basically saying that, yes, I lied about the condition of the card, but I didn't think it was a big deal. I thought it'd be okay. And that was just kind of stupid to me, I thought. And then he also went on to try to convince me that the price of the card was good. And instead of doing a full refund, he tried to just do a partial refund of $20 to me, which I obviously refused because I spent quite a bit on this card because it is a rare error card. And I said, I wouldn't have paid, I honestly wouldn't have paid half of what I paid for this card because of how damaged it was. I don't want a partial return. I want all my money back, and I'll just spend extra money to buy a better condition card. And then with doing eBay returns, it's not always a battle. Some sellers will recognize that what they did was wrong, or they may have just made a mistake. So I have one return where I messaged the seller and said, hey, this card is creased on the back, creased, and it's very visible on the back here. I want my money back. I want to return this card. It's not near mint, like you said. And he messaged me back and said, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I must have overlooked that or didn't catch it when I was posting the card. Here's your return, and you can keep the card if you want. And so eBay is really great when you're buying and selling, and especially for trading cards, because you have that third party that can step in and help you in cases of scamming and whatnot. And sometimes there are scammers on eBay. There's plenty of times where I've bought an item on eBay from like a new seller, like a brand new account, and it's always a risk that they're just making a scam account and you're paying money for an item that's not even going to get sent. And I've had that happen, and you just got to open a case with eBay and say, hey, this person never sent anything. There's no tracking. I never got anything, and eBay will say, okay, yeah, it's obviously a scam. Here's your money back. But with these trading cards, if you get a damaged card, if you get somebody that lies about the condition of the card to try to get more money than what the card is actually worth, you can use eBay to return that card and get your money back and not get scammed. And so using eBay, you also need to know what your rights are as a buyer on eBay. And so that's all I have for this video, and thank you for watching as always.